It will be years before the Ukrainian Air Force has enough experience to execute combat missions effectively. That's what experts from the Center for Strategic and International Studies confidently declared in their June 11, 2024 paper on F-16 jets in Ukraine. But just a little over 6 months later, a Ukrainian pilot pulled off a move never before seen with the F-16 Fighting Falcon. And not just in Ukraine, anywhere in the world. This is the story of that remarkable achievement. The F-16 Fighting Falcon is no ordinary fighter jet, it's a battlefield legend. Known for its speed, precision, and adaptability, this jet can handle everything from air defense to devastating ground strikes. For Ukraine, the F-16 is a lifeline in the country's fight against a larger and better-equipped aggressor. The jet is supposed to give Ukraine the tools to hit more Russian targets and tilt the balance in the war. In that regard, 2024 marked a turning point. It's when the first F-16 jets finally arrived in Ukraine. They were first seen in early August. Before the month's end, they were used in combat for the first time. After years of relying on outdated Soviet-era planes, Ukraine finally received aircraft that could match and even outclass what the Russians had in their arsenal. But as hopeful as the Ukrainians were about this addition, they couldn't have imagined the incredible feat that was about to unfold. No one could, not even the most seasoned aviation experts. In fact, experts and analysts seemed more focused on the challenges the F-16 would face in Ukraine. They talked at length about the hurdles Ukraine would encounter when integrating these advanced jets into its tactics. They claimed that the Ukrainian ground forces might have shown impressive adaptability with systems like HIMARS, but the country's air force had a much steeper climb. Ukrainian pilots would need time to adjust to the F-16's new cockpit design and advanced systems, something that could take years of training. And then on December 13th, a young Ukrainian pilot proved them all wrong. In a single combat sortie, this brave pilot destroyed 6 enemy cruise missiles, an unmatched feat for the F-16 Fighting Falcon. This achievement becomes even more impressive when you consider when it took place. On the morning of December 13th, Ukraine was thrust into one of its most intense and overwhelming battles since the full-scale invasion began. Russian forces launched an unprecedented aerial assault, a blitzkrieg of such magnitude that it could have brought Ukraine to its knees. The skies were filled with chaos as nearly 200 enemy drones swarmed in, joined by at least 94 air, sea, and land-based cruise missiles, along with the terrifying Kinzhal air-launched ballistic missiles. Russia was, as Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky would later describe it, terrorizing millions of people. The assault targeted Ukraine's critical infrastructure, heavily focusing on the energy sector. The attack stretched across multiple regions, including Kyiv Oblast, Odessa, Vinnytsia, Lviv, Ivano-Frankivsk, and Cherkasy. In an extraordinary display of resilience, the Ukrainian forces managed to intercept 81 missiles, including the 11 downed by F-16s. This figure alone is a testament to the potency of the advanced fighter jets now in the Ukrainian arsenal. What's even more impressive is that 6 out of those 11 missiles were destroyed by a single pilot, according to Colonel Yuri Inat, the head of the public relations service of the Ukrainian Air Force Command. In a post shared on Facebook, Inat explained exactly what happened. During a massive attack by Russian troops in December 2024, a Ukrainian F-16 pilot destroyed 6 enemy cruise missiles in one combat sortie, his post said. These cruise missiles were precisely the pilot's primary target, even though they are incredibly difficult to intercept due to their speed and evasive capabilities. The F-16 pilot initially engaged with all 4 air-to-air missiles on board, successfully shooting down 4 cruise missiles. However, as the battle intensified, the pilot noticed additional targets closing in. But instead of using the remaining missiles, the pilot made a risky decision to rely on the aircraft's M61A1 6-barrel cannon. Sounds like a scene from Top Gun, doesn't it? Trust us, you haven't heard anything yet. The reason why we even know anything about this extraordinary feat is that the pilot told the story himself to Colonel Inat. So why settle for a brief summary of what happened in the skies on that December morning when you can hear the full play-by-play? We're about to tell you the story exactly as it was recounted by the pilot, but we'll let the drama of the moment unfold a little more vividly. Imagine this is a scene on the big screen, except it was a real story. A story of courage, precision, and split-second decisions. Buckle up, we're taking off. The F-16 zooms through the sky, the fighter jet's engine roaring as it closes in on a cluster of Russian cruise missiles. The guidance navigator locks onto a group of 8 enemy missiles, and the pilot brings the aircraft into position, checking the instruments. The missiles are coming in fast, so there's no time to hesitate. The pilot's focus sharpens as he navigates through the incoming missile threat, his jet systems pinging with alerts from the enemy's electronic warfare defenses. The missiles are scrambling the signal, but the F-16's radar cuts through the interference. The pilot doesn't let up. He has his target locked. At the optimal range, the Ukrainian pilot fires the first air-to-air missiles. It's a hit. The Russian missile explodes in a fiery burst. The next target is locked, and the pilot quickly launches the second missile. Another hit. A second Russian missile disappears in a flash of light. The pilot scans for the next target, calming his mind in the midst of the chaos unfolding around him. Without a pause, he turns his attention to the next pair of incoming missiles, already closing the gap. As he draws nearer, the jet's radar beeps, warning him about their proximity. The pilot started with 4 air-to-air missiles, medium and short range, but now he's down to just the short-range missiles. The pilot adjusts his approach, bringing the F-16 closer, flying in at just 2 miles, a dangerous maneuver with missiles still incoming. The first short-range missile launches. The Russian missile is obliterated. He wastes no time, quickly locking onto the next one. Another squeeze of the trigger, and the second short-range missile flies. Boom! Another explosion. Another direct hit. The pilot's pulse quickens, but his joy is boundless. He's just taken down 4 missiles. He saw the hits with his own eyes. But he isn't done just yet. The guidance navigator chimes again, and the pilot's instructed to leave the area and head to another position. His comrade flying the Su-27 will continue working on the targets. However, as he leaves the zone, his eyes flick to another threat on the horizon. Another missile heading toward Kyiv. Why not, was all he thought to himself, as he informed the command he was willing to keep going. With his fuel running low, he's only got one option left, the aircraft's rapid-fire cannon. There are no more missiles. He would have to take the missile heading for Kyiv with sheer precision. The missile is still far off, flying at over 400 miles per hour, a dangerous challenge. The pilot knows the risks. A detonation at this speed could destroy the aircraft. It could kill him in a second, but he has a job to do. A scene flashes before his eyes, his F-16 training in the United States. There, the only targets he shot down with an aircraft cannon were simulations, but this time, it's a real fight. In fact, it's as real as it gets, and there's no time for doubt. He adjusts his altitude, looking for the missile below, but it's not there. The pilot pulls up, climbs higher, and then swings the radar to find the missile. There it is! He lines up the shot. Only 550 yards to go. He takes a deep breath, then opens fire. The cannon bursts to life, its rounds ripping through the air. He watches, heart racing, as the first round hits its mark. There's an explosion as the missile detonates, but then another explosion. The pilot realizes too late what happened. There were 2 missiles traveling side by side in a shelf formation, a tactic used by the Russians to confuse the defenders, but this time, it didn't work. The pilot pulls away, making a sharp turn to assess the situation. The missile he'd just destroyed had a massive payload, almost 1,000 pounds of warhead. If it had detonated too close to the aircraft, it could have destroyed the jet in an instant, but it didn't. What happened instead was an awe-inspiring achievement. 6 enemy missiles were taken down in one sortie, 4 with missiles and 2 with his aircraft cannon. This is no Hollywood script. This is real life, and this brave Ukrainian pilot has just rewritten history. He even thought to himself, I probably set a record, and that he did. As Inat wrote in his post, the Ukrainian forces have 100% confirmation that an American F-16 fighter jet shot down 6 cruise missiles in an anti-aircraft battle, with 2 of them demolished by an aircraft cannon. And this was done by a Ukrainian, Inat proudly exclaimed. But even in the face of his monumental success, the pilot remained humble. He summed up this unparalleled achievement in 4 simple words. I tried, it worked. His focus was always on the mission, on the greater purpose, and on honoring those who made the ultimate sacrifice. I'm sure this experience will be useful to my colleagues, he concluded. Well, those colleagues welcomed him as the hero he is. As he landed, he was greeted with loud applause and cheers at the airfield. His fellow pilots and the technicians who prepare the planes for takeoff showered him with admiration. Even the leadership at Air Force Control couldn't hide their emotions as they celebrated the incredible achievement. But the admiration didn't stop there. Word of his success quickly spread beyond Ukraine's borders. The Americans who trained him were also taken aback by how their ward had performed in combat. This success also confirmed that the US decision to prioritize younger, less experienced pilots in the F-16 training program was the right one. This shift in strategy came as a response to Ukraine's urgent need for skilled pilots to bolster the country's air defenses against Russia, and it paid off in a big way. Initially, the US had trained only experienced Ukrainian pilots who had flown Soviet-era MiG jets. However, this group faced challenges with the Western-style training methods, as well as the language barrier. According to the Wall Street Journal, the decision to focus more on younger cadets was motivated by the shortage of experienced pilots and their increasing difficulty in adapting to new aircraft and training methods. Younger cadets, on the other hand, were thought to be more flexible and open to the new system, and they could undergo more intensive, faster training. This strategy was further supported by the fact that there were fewer experienced pilots available to be trained. The results of this shift were clear. In just a few months, a dozen pilots, many of them younger cadets, had graduated from the training program. All but one of them had already joined the fight in Ukraine, and they were now taking on missions that had previously been reserved for more seasoned airmen. The successful interception of these 6 cruise missiles by a pilot who had just undergone retraining in the US proved that the younger generation of pilots could indeed excel when given the tools, training, and experience they needed, and military experts certainly welcomed this excellence. Tim Robinson, a military aviation specialist with the UK's Royal Aeronautical Society, pointed out just how difficult it was to achieve such a feat. Describing the challenge, he noted that a cruise missile is quite a small target and is also flying quite low, making the interception especially impressive. Mark Kansian, a senior advisor on the International Security Program at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, offered further insights into the significance of the pilot's performance. He emphasized that the success of shooting down 6 missiles in a single sortie was not only a remarkable tactical achievement, but also a testament to the pilot's knowledge of the F-16 weaponry. "This pilot has mastered the F-16's weapons," he said, recognizing the level of technical competence involved. Kansian also highlighted the historical aspect, noting that 6 missiles in a single mission would likely set a record for the F-16. "Shooting down 6 cruise missiles in a single sortie is at the physical limits of the aircraft, so this would be a record if true," he explained. The sheer volume of missiles in the skies over Ukraine, he added, made this feat possible, though it was still something few pilots could achieve. After all, Western pilots typically face only 1 or 2 incoming missiles at a time. Retired US Army Major General Gordon "Skip" Davis, who had experience in NATO's Defense Investment Division, also weighed in on the achievement, praising the skill involved in shooting the aircraft's cannon to take down 2 cruise missiles. "Shooting 2 cruise missiles with the aircraft guns is quite impressive," he said. His comments highlighted the danger and precision required to use an aircraft cannon on such high-speed, evasive targets. The choice to engage with the cannon rather than missiles was an audacious decision that required quick thinking and a solid understanding of the aircraft's capabilities. Peter Layton, a fellow at the Griffith Asia Institute and a former Royal Australian Air Force officer, also praised the pilot's performance. He called the gun kill "good flying," while also stating that modern radars make targeting easier compared to World War II. Still, the pilot had to close in on the missile and fire very accurately. This reinforced the complexity of the task and how the pilot's performance wasn't just about the technology at their disposal, but about his expertise in using that technology effectively. However, no one understands what it truly took for the Ukrainian pilot to pull off this mission better than Colonel John Venable, a 25-year veteran of the US Air Force and former F-16 pilot. Venable's insights into the mission are not just informative, they're essential to understanding why this pilot's success was so groundbreaking. With decades of experience flying F-16s and understanding the risks of aerial combat, his perspective carries immense weight. Venable, who has seen it all in the cockpit, explained the unique challenge faced by this Ukrainian pilot in vivid terms. He likened the approach to a missile to driving onto a highway from an off-ramp, where you're at 90 degrees out and then you start to actually align your car with the highway as that on-ramp turns onto the road. This comparison depicts the skill needed to approach a missile at the right angle, without putting the aircraft in the danger zone of explosive debris. It's a subtle art of timing and positioning, where any degree off could mean disaster. The risk was magnified because the Ukrainian pilot wasn't using missiles anymore. As mentioned, he had run out, he was down to his aircraft's cannon, and still had to deal with a missile traveling at over 400 miles per hour. The pilot knew the stakes. A single shot could destroy the missile, but an explosion could tear apart his F-16. Venable, who's flown many missions himself, knows exactly how dangerous that is. Shooting down cruise missiles with a cannon is very risky because of the high speed of the target and the danger of detonation. Venable's words are powerful here. The fact that he did that without fragging himself says a lot about his skill set. For those unfamiliar with this military aviation term, being fragged means the aircraft absorbs debris from an exploding target. Essentially, you get torn apart by the very missile you're trying to destroy. What's more impressive was taking on not 1 but 2 incoming missiles, an absolute first in modern air combat with an F-16. As Venable explains, the complexity of hitting 2 targets at once can't be overstated. The fact that the pilot managed this feat with a weapon as risky as the aircraft's cannon is a testament to his exceptional flying abilities. This wasn't just a lucky shot, it was the product of training, skill, and above all, incredible courage. But what will this courage bring to the Ukrainian armed forces? Well, Inat is already focused on the future. According to him, young Ukrainian pilots prove every day that they are the best, whether in the cockpit of a Soviet or an American fighter. This accomplishment highlights not only the skill of individual pilots, but also the potential for Ukraine's future air defense. With 200 Ukrainian pilots already receiving basic training on F-16s in the UK and new batches of the aircraft on the way, the integration of these advanced jets could significantly strengthen Ukraine's defense posture. Kansian believes that more F-16s would mean a more robust air defense for Ukraine. This is crucial as Ukraine currently has a limited number of F-16s. Despite receiving its first jets in late July, only 11 pilots are currently flying them, with a full squadron strength of 40 jets. Increased numbers could mean greater coverage of Ukraine's skies, enhancing its ability to intercept Russian missiles and drones. Additionally, as Ukraine's Air Force gains more experience, this could help them match up against the technically advanced Russian jets. The delivery of additional F-16s, like the recent transfers from Denmark and the $266 million US sales package for F-16 support, shows a long-term commitment from international allies to bolster Ukraine's capabilities. Now, F-16s aren't miracle weapons, however they do represent a leap forward in modernizing Ukraine's Air Force. They're also laying the foundation for future upgrades, such as F-35s, that would only enhance this progress. But let's not move from the F-16s just yet. These aircraft might be part of Ukraine's present and future military capabilities, however their legacy is already steeped in combat success. The first time the F-16 Fighting Falcon truly made a name for itself was in Operation Desert Storm during the First Gulf War. This aircraft flew a mind-boggling 13,340 sorties in 1991, more than any other coalition aircraft. These jets attacked critical targets like airfields, missile sites, and military infrastructure. However, the first historic achievement came a year later, in 1992. On December 27, 1992, during Operation Southern Watch, F-16 pilot Lieutenant Colonel Gary North made history by shooting down an Iraqi MiG-25, the first ever aerial kill by an F-16. This engagement also marked the first use of the AIM-120 AMRAAM missile in combat, achieving a successful lock and kill. Fast forward to 1994, and an F-16 pilot made history once again. In February of that year, the pilot achieved the first single-mission triple kill since the Korean War. During Operation Deny Flight, Captain Robert Wright downed 3 Serbian J-21 Jastreb aircraft in a matter of minutes using AIM-120 AMRAAM and AIM-9 Sidewinder missiles. This combat achievement was a major milestone for NATO, marking the first offensive action in over 4 decades and reinforcing the F-16's role in air dominance during peace enforcement operations. Of course, we can't talk about the F-16's biggest combat achievements without mentioning the time this aircraft saved 52 British special operators, well, 2 aircraft to be precise. In March 2003, during the Iraq War, 2 F-16s were called to assist British special operators who were surrounded by 500 Iraqi troops. With the night sky making it impossible to identify targets, one of the pilots, US Air Force Major Edward Lynch III, devised a bold plan. He dove to build up sonic energy, then broke the sound barrier over the enemy, creating a sonic boom that terrified the Iraqi forces into retreat. The British troops were able to escape unharmed, showcasing the F-16's unexpected but effective role in unconventional combat situations. And now Ukrainian pilots get to carry on this legacy, and as you've heard in this video, they're doing a great job. It's only a matter of time before they add another one of their records to this list. What do you think that one will be? And how do you explain their rapid progress with the F-16? Let us know in the comments section below.